Hey guys, welcome back. So thanks for checking out the other videos. If you're just catching in on this one, I'm doing sort of a build series on the screen porch build. We built a screened-in porch on the back of our house, did a little bit of an addition per se. We already did have an existing deck in place. I just extended the deck and then I built a roof over top of it. I'm actually sitting out here now on the screen porch. Today's video, we're going to kind of start out with setting our posts to carry the roof beam that carries the rafters. So we'll set the posts in place. Then we'll set the triple 2x8 beam. It's a 2x8 with 2x6s stacked on top. Worked similar the way that like a top plate, how you would frame a wall, where they sort of overlap one another and it sort of ties everything in place. So it's a triple 2x8. I do have a piece of 1/2 inch OSB sandwiched in between to get the proper spacing out, to space it the width of the 2x6. And then our 2x6 or our side beams really are just sort of to like hold it against the house. A little bit of an explanation. A lot of times when you're putting the side beams in, you would actually pocket those beams into the side of the house. I actually chose not to do that because I didn't want to tear up all the drywall on the inside. And those beams aren't actually carrying any load really at all, other than the studs that are on top of them are basically holding the sheathing up. But those particular side beams aren't carrying any load. All the load from the rafters is carried on the house, on the ledger, and out on the outer beam because this is a shed roof. But I did make those the same dimensions as the exterior beam. I just took a 2x8s and I basically built a box beam. So it's 2x6, 2x6 on top, and 2x8s vertically. Basically built a box beam, and then I hung a ledger basically behind this trim piece right here. That ledger that you see, I'm kind of whatever. So there's that's actually sits behind that trim there, and I hung it with some joist hangers on the side of the house, and then we fastened that ledger into the house with those 4-inch ledger lock structural 3/8 inch structural screws. And those are tied, lagged into the studs in the walls, on the exterior walls. So that's how we built it. The video will kind of conclude up with putting the sheathing on. I don't have a ton of videos about the sheathing. It's more of, oh, all of a sudden we have sheathing on. I was obviously up on top of the roof and couldn't really set a camera up there and whatnot, so I didn't get any video of that. But thanks for checking out the video. Feel free to subscribe. I'm going to try to start doing more of these videos. I've recorded some other videos of some recent projects I've done. I'm going to try to start putting some projects out there. I do enjoy doing projects, and I'll do a lot of them around the house. We're kind of getting this house ready to put up for sale. Because of the whole COVID thing, we decided not to put the house on the market this summer, waiting to see what happens with the economy here in the next couple months. Again, I'm in real estate. I'm a real estate investor. I'm trying to see what happens with this. It's still mixed feelings, mixed emotions as to what's going to happen. No one really knows. I'm going to wait it out about 60, 90 days, see what happens. And by then, I've kind of missed the window. It's better to list your house in the springtime. So we're doing a lot of projects around here, getting it ready to put it up for sale, and then we'll be selling this house, probably rent a house for a short period of time while we build a custom home very close nearby here. We're working on a deal on a piece of land, although it's kind of put on hold right now, but negotiating a deal with some landowners to buy up a larger parcel of property, subdivide it up into pieces, build some spec homes on some of the other pieces, and then me and my wife will keep a piece of it and build our own custom home on that piece. So that's what we're looking to do, and I hope you enjoy this video. Keep subscribing. I'll keep releasing them over the next few days. I've been kind of spending time editing these here over the past few days, and editing them and then uploading them out there. I've got all the footage sort of stored away and doing all the edits right now. So thanks again, guys. Have a great day. All right, so here's the progress from yesterday. Trying to do a little work this morning and try to flip some houses today and try to make some money. Who knows what's going to happen with this crazy coronavirus. So got this frame up yesterday, so we put these side beams in. The way we did these is it's actually two 2x8s that are just spaced apart. So this is just hollow in the middle. This isn't really a supporting, it's not carrying any weight like this one is. This one's carrying half the load of the rafters. So all the rafters are gonna sit on top of this. And then we're gonna hang another ledger up here that the rafters will hang, and that will carry the other half of the load. This particular beam is really just to span it out here, and then we'll put some studs in between to kind of frame out the triangle part of the roof. So how we hung this is we put this up here. I've got some of these ledger locks here. So these are basically like lag screws. These things are awesome. They're timber lock structural wood screws. I've got 4-inch ones. And the way I hung it here is I've got 3 into a stud right there off the end. And then we've got a hidden hanger. If you've never seen a hidden hanger before, this is what they look like. When you're on an end wall, you kind of have to use one of these because that flange hangs out. So you shoot all these little holes in here. So we've got one of those hangers on the inside edge, and then I've just got a normal hanger here next to it, and then we've got those fastened into the wall, so that's holding that beam into place. And then I put a top plate in that comes back, and then it's shot down in there, and this one's shot that way. So that top plate actually overlaps to the outside edge there, and that's all tied together. So we did the same on both sides. And then what we're gonna do today, so the first rafter is hung. My math was correct, so that's exciting. We first test fitted it over here, like right in the middle, and it was overhanging a little bit. But I think what we discovered is this is just kind of bowing in just a little bit, so we're gonna have to kick it out just a little bit when we nail it off. And this measurement here to here compared to here, this one's about 1/8 of an inch shorter. So it's pretty close. So today we got we hung this ledger up here for the ceiling joists to hang off of. The ceiling joists are gonna hang off of that ledger. And then this will get covered up, like this lower one will get like a little trim piece over it. And then we hung the upper ledger today. That's what we'll hang all of the rafters off of. And then the rafters will sit up there on the top plate. And then there's a little bit of an overhang there. We'll put a 2x4 sub fascia on that, and then a 1x6 fiber cement fascia board on that to overhang it. So that's the plan. Looking good. So if you're nailing off hangers like this, little tip, one of these guys is called a palm nailer. They're really, really cheap. This is a Harbor Freight one. I think it costs like $15 or something. These are super helpful for nailing off these things. So what you do is I've got my nails here. Anytime you're using hangers, you need to make sure you use approved fasteners for the hangers. You can't just shoot framing nails into the hangers. So these are hanger approved fasteners. It has a little magnetic tip in it. You just stick the nail on the tip right there. Kind of get it started in the hole and push it in. All right, so we got a storm rolling in here soon. Just trying to clean up a little bit. Made myself a little tent there to cover that overhang up so no water gets down in there. The exposed stuff on the house, it should be okay because you have the overhang on the house here. But I got all the rafters hung today, and I got all the joists up today. And then I got about halfway through with my pressure blocking here. Normally when you do rafters, you would actually tie them all together, and I had went ahead and hung all these hangers early, and I wasn't thinking, and I hung them there. So it's not a big deal, but the pressure blocking is wedged in between the joists to keep them straight up and down, cut at 14.5 inches wide. And then the joists the pressure blocking goes between the rafters, and then the joists are nailed off through the backside of that. fastens it all down. I'll come in tomorrow and put all my hurricane ties, hurricane clips in, put all those in. I got to finish up my pressure blocking tomorrow in between all these. We've got to build some studs here on the sides for the sheathing to attach to. On either side, we've got studs there. And then I need to, you can see I've put this board right there that ties all of the rafters together, ties them all exactly 16 inches on center. I'll do the same on all the joists here, and then I'll put some blocks of wood in between the two of them to tie them together, so that it all kind of solidifies the whole thing. I also have to build my overhangs tomorrow. I've purposely left that gutter sitting there for now. I'll build my overhangs tomorrow with some 2x4s for the rakes. And then once I do that, I'm hoping to get this thing sheathed by Sunday and get the sheathing on it. And then once I do that, then I can get started on the metal roof. I've got to run over to my buddy's house and pick up the metal roofing from him, because he has it at his house. My buddy's a roofer, and he had about 700 square feet left over from a commercial job he did. And he said he'd just give it to me. So I do have to order some trim, the rake trims from him. I'll have to custom order those, and we'll have to get what's called some closure strips, but you can pick up closure strips pretty much anywhere. So that's that. This is a 2 and 12 pitch is what this pitch is. I was gonna do a 2.5 and 12, but it ended up where it was gonna be too close to the bottom edge of that window, and I wouldn't have enough room to flash everything properly, so I went down to a 2 and 12 pitch, which is fine. So that's that. So video update today, got all the overhangs framed in there. I got to build the little, they call them bird boxes here on the corners. Basically just like if you see on the side of my neighbor's house right up there, you see that? I have to build those little bird boxes on the corners here, which you basically just frame out flat. You frame like a little section in right there, and then the soffit material goes down, hits that, and then it goes down, and then it goes straight out, and then it goes flat along the eave, and then does the same on the other side. So today we framed up all the overhang column ladders there, and got that done. And then I put a bunch of blocking in here. Just these are just scrap pieces I had, kind of every other joist bay, just to tie both the rafters and the joists together. And then went ahead and put up a temporary railing here. This is not the permanent railing. I'm gonna add another post here in the middle, probably a 4x4, I think, and then we're gonna do 6x6 here in the middle and a 6x6 there on that side. That's the plan. We got this was a fun overhang here because I had to kind of hang out. I climbed up there. I tied up a rope around between my son's window and put my fall harness on, and I climbed out here on top of this. I had to nail off that extension and all that stuff. So that was quite fun. It wasn't too bad because I could put my feet right here and just kind of sit up on that joist. It really wasn't that bad. The weird one was disconnecting this gutter right here. That was kind of awkward. So we did that one first because that was the hard one, and then we came back and finished this one up. Finished this one up over here. A little trick I did out here to make this a little bit easier is if you just clamp a block to the bottom of these rafters and kind of let it overhang, you can use that to rest your board onto. And then I just kind of hung over the edge here and shot the nailer back nailed it into the face there. So that's kind of how I nailed that one off. We had a seam right there in the middle. Unfortunately, this is 16 foot. Well, this whole thing would have been 18 feet. I could have gotten an 18-foot 2x4 maybe, but we just seamed it right in the middle, and I just put a block in the seam, so no big deal. But so yeah, tomorrow I'm going to put all of the studs in right here along the sides. We'll sheathe the side of that. We'll sheathe the whole roof off. And once we sheathe the whole roof off, I'm gonna go run over to my buddy's house and pick up the metal roofing probably tomorrow. And he's got a couple rolls of peel and stick membrane. So we're gonna do a peel and stick membrane on this. And then when I do that, I'll do all the flashing here up on the top there on the quote unquote ridge. Once we get it sheathed off, that'll be kind of nice. So that's the plan for tomorrow. Thanks, guys. All right, so today's update, I did the bird boxes on the end. I did the sheathing there on the sides. I put the step flashing up the sides there. Finished a little bit of the wiring in there, wiring the cans. My electrician friend just wired to one spot, and then I kind of had to daisy chain to the rest of them for the 4 can lights. Went and got my neighbor's step ladder today. This side over here doing the sheathing by myself was super sketch because it's so high up and so scary. But like what I did is so that's an 8-foot sheet. I just screwed a ledger, like a block of wood there and there, and then I got on the step ladder and I lifted it up over my head, and the gutter would keep it from tipping out this way, and then I slid it up, set it up on top of the blocks, and then grabbed my nail gun, pushed it up against the little rafter tail things there, and then nailed it off, and then just kind of held on to the inside of this railing and stood on this railing. Super sketch, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And then nailed everything off, and then cut this piece and did the same, and then zip taped it. We had to do a little makeshift gutter improvisation for the pouring rain, because I had that gutter off and it was just dumping rain on this roof here. And so that's temporary. What I'm actually going to do is once I get the metal roofing on, which I'm going to do tomorrow, we'll dump that gutter out onto this roof deck, and it'll slide down and then go into a gutter here. So move this post over a bit. I'm going to put another post here. So that's what's next. But tomorrow we're going to do the roofing. I'm going to put the membrane down and do the metal roofing tomorrow. So I'm going to talk about step flashing. If you don't know what it is, when you're up against a wall like this, you want to actually do step flashing. And what step flashing is these little individual pieces of flashing. And what they do is they tuck up underneath the shingle. You start at the bottom, just like with any shingle, and you go up. In each course, you tuck it up under the shingle. You can see that one. I nailed that one off. Actually, I didn't nail these off. I just nailed them to the sidewall here. I did nail this one off because I needed to, this is called a kick-out flashing. I'll tuck my siding. I'll redo this when I do my siding. And I'll cut my siding in around this and get this all fixed when I do my siding. But that's how you do a step flashing. So you step up each time. So it's an individual piece. You slide it up under the shingle. You can see some of them couldn't go as far because there was a nail in the way, but that's okay as long as it overlaps underneath. The whole premise is that if any driving rain comes in up underneath here, it'll hit that step flashing and it won't get behind or underneath the shingles. It'll just run down on top of the next shingle, on top of the next one, on top of the next one, and work its way all the way down to the bottom. And then your bottom course is called a kick-out flashing, and you're kicking it out this way so that the water is not running up against the house. It's actually kicking out away from the house. This particular area right here is really not going to see much water at all because it's underneath this overhang here. But I did want to kind of show you guys what step flashing is, and it's important up against a wall so that water doesn't get underneath. And then what I did is I just added a piece of zip tape on top of this and covered up my nails. So I nailed each one kind of in the middle. You only need like basically a nail just to hold it in place. I nailed each one as I went up, and then I taped over top of the nails. In this case, because I'm using zip tape. So I'm doing the zip sheathing right now on the side of this wall, and I'll come back here once I'm finished with this wall and I'll tape these joints. That's the benefit of the zip, is actually the tape that keeps it watertight. And then we'll kind of piece the tape, and I'll probably pull this flashing away just a little bit, tape behind this, and then work my way down. I've got to put another piece in underneath here. So working on the flashing today. Got all the roof decking on. I'm letting it dry out. It's been raining obviously for the last 2 days. I'm letting all this decking dry out here till tomorrow, and then I'm going to put all my roofing on tomorrow.